Hello, you're watching Arirang News. It's December 25th, Christmas Day here in South Korea. I'm Oh Soo-young. Our top story, North Korea has once again ramped up tensions on the Korean peninsula, testing its new surface-to-air missiles on Christmas Eve. The test was observed by regime leader Kim Jong-un, who proceeded to inspect a nuclear-powered submarine project. Our Park has the latest.
North Korea announced two major military developments on Thursday, further escalating military tension on the Korean peninsula. Observed by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, Pyongyang conducted the first test of a new type of high-altitude, long-range surface-to-air missile system over the East Sea. The state-run Korean Central News Agency reported on Thursday that the missile's launch successfully struck and destroyed simulated high-altitude targets at a range of 200 kilometers. Kim congratulated those who participated in the test, which was presented as a standard procedure to enhance the country's air defense capabilities. While a joint analysis with U.S. intelligence is underway, Seoul stressed its robust allied deterrence posture against any potential provocations by the North. Also on Thursday, Kim Jong-un visited a shipyard that is allegedly constructing an 8,700-ton nuclear-powered strategic guided missile submarine. The KCNA quoted Kim as sharply criticizing South Korea's plans to develop nuclear-powered submarines. Kim said the plan, under the approval of the U.S., would further destabilize the Korean peninsula. He described the move as an aggressive act that seriously infringes on North Korea's national security and maritime sovereignty, adding that Pyongyang views it as a security threat that must be met with a response. Kim's observation of the missile tests and visiting the nuclear submarine project were widely seen as efforts to reiterate to South Korea and the United States that denuclearization is impossible. It also serves as a way to highlight deterrence capabilities through propaganda, claiming progress in building submarines with long-endurance submerged operations and nuclear strike capabilities. Park, Arirang News.
Seoul and Washington's top security officials have agreed to speed up talks on bilateral cooperation for South Korea to develop nuclear-powered submarines. Now for that, a US team will visit Korea early next year. Our correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
Following a recent trip to Washington, National Security Advisor Ri Sung-rak noted that South Korea and the U.S. have agreed to pursue a separate agreement for bilateral cooperation for Seoul to build nuclear-powered submarines. He held a press briefing on Wednesday, saying that he had in-depth talks with his American counterpart, Marco Rubio, and U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright for follow-up measures to the allies' joint fact sheet.
When it comes to the reprocessing of spent fuel and uranium enrichment, I explained the fact that our president has emphasized his will for non-proliferation multiple times. We also stressed that it amounts to bilateral strategic cooperation for energy security.
With the current bilateral nuclear energy pact, banning the transfer of nuclear material for military purposes, the top security advisor mentioned the case of Australia being granted an exception in acquiring nuclear-powered submarines. He also noted that Seoul does not consider securing highly enriched uranium to fuel a sub. Instead, it plans to use low-enriched uranium. A U.S. delegation will visit Korea early next year for working-level consultations to speed up the process. On top of that, resuming dialogue with North Korea was high on the agenda as he met UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres in New York.
With various diplomatic opportunities in mind for the first half of next year, we discussed ways to cooperate with the U.S. to resume dialogue with North Korea.
When asked, the official said no discussion was made on whether to adjust the Seoul-Washington joint military exercises to bring Pyongyang back to the negotiating table. We also visited Canada and Japan in time for his U.S. trip, where he discussed defense partnership with Ottawa as Seoul seeks to take part in its diesel submarine project, and shared consensus with Tokyo on continuing the so-called shuttle diplomacy at the top level. When it comes to the recent controversy over what's seen as friction within government ministries over North Korea policy, we remained tight-lipped, saying that it's undesirable to publicly reveal confusion, as he stressed the importance of coordination. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
On Christmas Day, churches and cathedrals across South Korea are celebrating the birth of Jesus. At midnight, Myeongdong Cathedral held a service with Archbishop Peter Jong-sun-taek, who prayed that the grace and peace of God would reach all people, especially those living with wounds, loneliness and inequality. The National Council of Churches in Korea said the joy of Christmas should restore love where hatred and division persist. Also, a Christmas service in solidarity with the Palestinian people was held in central Seoul, with prayers for an end to the war. Other faiths joined the celebrations. The Choge Order of Korean Buddhism lit Christmas lanterns at Chogesa Temple, with its president, the Most Venerable Chinu, offering congratulations on the birth of Jesus. President Lee Jae-myung wished everyone a happy holiday in his Christmas message, vowing to improve the lives of the people. He took to his social media account on Thursday, saying that he will do his best to make sure warmth and hope reach the everyday lives of the people in the coming year. He also highlighted the true meaning of Christmas, noting the birth of Christ and his life dedicated to the poor and marginalized. He said he wished the day would bring comfort and hope to the people. South Korea's presidential office will revert to using its former name, the Blue House or Cheongwade, from next Monday, after more than 3.5 years. The presidential spokesperson's office issued a notice on the matter to reporters on Wednesday afternoon. It added that the presidential flag bearing 2 phoenixes currently flown at the Yongsan presidential office will be lowered at midnight on December 29th, after moving back to the Blue House compound. The flag will be raised simultaneously at the Blue House. The number of newborns in South Korea rose on year for the 16th month in a row in October. Now, experts say that this stems from a steady increase in the number of marriages. Our An Sung-jin has the details.
South Korea in October saw a rise in the number of births on year for the 16th consecutive month. According to the Data Ministry on Wednesday, the number of newborns in October 2025 reached 21,958. That's a 2.5% increase compared to the same month last year. It also marks the highest number for the month of October since 2020. The cumulative number of newborns from January to October this year stands at nearly 213,000, a 6.5% increase from the same period last year. The numbers dipped in 2023, figures began recovering in 2024. If the current momentum continues, 2025 as a whole may mark the second consecutive year of growth. An official from the Data Ministry said that as the number of marriages has been in an upward trend for 19 consecutive months, the number of newborns may have also been positively affected. One expert noticed something similar but offered caution.
Childbirths and marriages that were postponed during the COVID-19 pandemic are resuming, but what's noteworthy is that the birth rate is gradually slowing. This might suggest that the momentum for postponing childbirths is fading.
October saw nearly 20,000 marriages, a slight increase of 0.2% on year. Meanwhile, the total fertility rate, the average number of children a woman is expected to have in her lifetime, rose to 0.81 in October, an increase of 0.02 from a year earlier. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you to our viewers for watching and Merry Christmas. Arirang News will be back at 6 p.m. Korea time, so do stay tuned. Bye for now.